Joining us for a brief bit to talk about issues of Capitol Hill is Representative John McGuire, representing Virginia. He serves the 5th District, also a member of the Oversight and Government Reform Committees. Representative McGuire, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning, Pedro. Thanks for having me this morning.
Tariffs, the topic of the day. What's your take on what the administration might propose and what ultimately results from that plan?
Sure. Well, today's the big day. And, you know, you've heard President Trump talk about President McKinley and how he used tariffs to make America very wealthy. You know, many countries for too long have been taking advantage of our country. And these tariffs are going to make, I think it's going to level the playing field and make business fair. And I'll give you an example. You probably just heard the news that Israel has announced that they're going to eliminate all tariffs on American goods and services. And I was talking with folks that are in the steel industry, and I said, how are things going? And they said, we're getting the biggest contracts we've ever had, and business is booming. And you know, if you remember NAFTA, I think it was 80,000 businesses closed down or moved overseas. We lost businesses, we lost tons of jobs, and small rural America was devastated. And it's time to bring those goods and services, to bring that manufacturing back to America so that we can have a better future for our country.
Some of the cities that you represent there in the 5th District, Danville, Lynchburg, Charlottesville, could they be affected either way, good or poorly, by the implementation of these tariffs?
Sure. I think you meant Danville, Lynchburg, Charlottesville, and many other. We have 24 county cities and towns.
Those are some of the bigger ones. Yeah,
that's right.
You are
that's
correct.
Right. No, that's right. And you know, here's the thing. You know, what I guess the phrase they say is tariffs are short-term pain, long-term gain. And I guess we just have to show some patience and some grace, but I think that we have to get through this to get to a better booming economy for all Americans. You know, we all want, regardless of your race, religion, or creed, you know, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent, we're all Americans, and I think we all want the same thing. We might disagree on how to get there, but we all want to live, work, and raise our families in peace. And these decisions that we're making are going to get us healthy and get us there. You know, if the government was a business, we would be out of business. You cannot spend more money every day than you bring in every day, or you would be out on the street. And if you ran your business like that, you would be out of business. And we've been running our country for far too long with unfair trade. You know, if folks are taxing us 33, 70%, they're taking advantage of us. And President Trump is a strong leader, and he loves our country, he loves the American people. And his decisions, I believe, and I can see it already, are going to help all Americans as we go along.
Representative, you're joining us from Capitol Hill. We really appreciate you joining us this morning, considering the House effectively is done business for the week. This goes back to that discharge petition effort on proxy voting. What did you think about the measure overall?
Well, with regard to proxy voting, you know, as Speaker Mike Johnson says, it's unconstitutional. I'm not for it. Now, you know, I'm a veteran. There are many ways to serve your country. I served as a Navy SEAL, and when we signed a contract to serve our country, you know, I was gone 11 months in '95. When I came home, my daughter barely recognized who I was. It's part of service is sacrifice, and you don't need to be in Congress. But if you want to serve in Congress, that's part of the job, and you knew that when you ran for office. And to make these carved-out exceptions, it just opens the door to more and more and more and more, and it destroys the communication and negotiation to do the business of our country.
I suppose that people have made the comparisons to you or others about some companies give some people time off, men and women off, to help raise children right after birth. Why not apply that to those who work in Congress?
Well, that's a good argument, but this is, like I said, this is a unique way to serve our country, and this is a serious, we need to take this job seriously. And for example, you never know, but we are in such a small majority right now. We need every vote. Now, there have been times when we had 15, 16 lead majority in Congress, and maybe that would be an exception, but we have to think about the future. And again, I think that you don't have to be in Congress, but that is part of being in Congress, and that's a decision that you make.
Representative, can you elaborate on why there's no more business in the House because of this vote this week?
You know, I told a reporter I've been here 3 months. I've got it all figured out. I've no more questions. But the way I understand it is you have to set up a rules before you vote. And because that was part of a rules vote yesterday, they had to go reset. And it takes time to reset the votes. And so we had today, which is Wednesday, and tomorrow would be fly-out day. So to give themselves more time to get it organized, we're just going to come back on Monday, which we were going to come back on Monday anyway.
You have a military background. Elaborate on that.
Sure. So I served our country as a Navy SEAL. Most of my experience is counter-drug missions in South Central America. I served as a sniper instructor up in Indiana, Camp Atterbury, and like I said, there are many ways to serve. It's great to have served our country in the Navy SEALs.
I asked that only because of what we heard last week concerning the sharing of information on the Signal chat. There's stories this morning that possibly some information was shared from the Defense Department via personal Gmail accounts. As a military person, considering the trade in information that's going back and forth, are you concerned about those things?
Well, we always get better, and we've got to be very serious with our OPSEC, but I would say this, is that terrorists were killed and Americans are safer. It was a very successful mission, and President Trump said he has faith in his people, and I have faith in President Trump, and so we get better and we keep moving.
I want to ask you a little bit about the special elections, particularly in Florida.
Yes.
Republicans winning, coming to Congress, but there's stories this morning that go along with that about the margins in which they won, lesser than previous Republicans. Does that concern you going forward, particularly to midterms?
Well, these special elections always have smaller turnout. Obviously the bigger turnout would be a presidential election. But think about it. Did you see how much money the Democrats poured into these races? I mean, it was like 10-1. I mean, it was pretty amazing. So despite that, we still won. And so I don't think that you can make any decision based on that.
Even with the new members, you still got the small margins. What do you think that means going forward, particularly when work on the budget has to proceed and other things, and particularly maybe Republicans who don't, say, go along with fiscal efforts on work on the budget and the like? What do you think that means as far as getting things done?
Well, we've got to be a team. We've got to lock arms. We've got a short window. President Trump said you're going to get 6 hours sleep in the first 100 days. You probably noticed that the news cycle changes every 15 minutes with this president. He's a worker. He doesn't sleep. He loves our country. He loves all American people. And he knows that we've gone way off course. I mean, especially look at what DOGE is finding. I mean, I think 1.3 million illegal aliens have full Social Security benefits, and apparently they're about to make an arrest of a guy who stole 400,000 Social Security numbers. I mean, the behavior and what we're identifying is egregious, and I hope the American people are outraged at the people that committed the fraud rather than the people that are finding the fraud.
You serve on the DOGE caucus there, the bipartisan caucus. Particularly, and spell out what that caucus is. What's the job of the caucus?
Well, first of all, remember, there's a lot of misinformation in politics. DOGE is not firing anyone. They're identifying waste, fraud, and abuse. And then they report it to the different agencies. And then the agencies make the decisions of how they're going to reshape, fire, hire their agencies. But yeah, it is a bipartisan thing. I think all Americans want their taxpayer dollars spent responsibly. People are having trouble, paying their rent, paying their car payment, things like that. And when they see us giving millions of dollars for crazy comic books in foreign countries and things like that, they can't understand that. And I can't understand that either. So, you look at even Bill Clinton and Obama wanted government efficiency. All of them talked about it. We're actually getting it. And it's a little bit painful. I understand that if you're getting free money from the government and we take it away, you're going to be upset. But we've got to do what's best for our country and for the American people. You
mentioned that DOGE recommends the cuts. Congress ultimately has to put them in legislation. Overall, how willing would you be to widespread go along with every suggestion that's made?
Well, you have to see it. I mean, it's hard to just be here this morning on camera and say that. You have to look at it and scrutinize it and make the best decision for the American people. But I got to tell you, it's pretty easy when I see that they're spending millions of dollars on transgender surgeries on animals. I mean, anybody would say that's ridiculous.
Fair enough. But what questions you would have to ask to go along with the cut or not? Let's just frame it that way.
Well, is it, I guess, is it critical? Is it essential? And do we have the money? I mean, if you have $10, you can't spend 1,000. That's just basic math. I mean, like I said, if you ran your house like that, you'd be on the street. If you ran your business like that, you would be out of business. And we're committing suicide by bankruptcy in our country by spending too much.
First term in the House, you took over for Representative Bob Good. Is there a legislative priority for you, a specific one?
Well, yes. Well, in my district, it's very rural, and right now, farmers and loggers are not allowed to have 90,000-pound vehicles on the highways. So you imagine you're a mom or a dad taking your children to school, and you've got these giant 90,000-pound trucks on the back roads. So the first piece of legislation I put in is to get these heavy trucks off the back roads and onto the highways with the other heavy trucks. So it's better for getting your goods and services to market, and it's safer for the community. And so that's my first bill.
This is Representative John McGuire joining us. Amongst the cities he serves, Dansville, Lynchburg, and Charlottesville in the 5th District of Virginia, also a member of the Oversight and Government Reform Committees. Representative McGuire, thank you for sticking with us this morning, being on the program.
All right, God bless you, Pedro. Thank you.
We will continue on with Open Forum. Again, we've told you